Hello and welcome to episode 6 of this summer's limited podcast series, 100 Days of Mothman, brought to you by the Caffeinated Cryptid Podcast Network. All summer long, we're diving deep with eyewitnesses, paranormal researchers, scientists, and filmmakers to explore the mystery, madness, and the legacy of Mothman. Episode 6 features Tobias Wayland, a seasoned Fortean investigator, head writer for the Singular Fortean Society, and the main expert on Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries reboot covering the Chicago Mothman. In this episode, Tobias takes us deep into the Great Lakes and Chicago area sightings, connecting them back to the legendary Point Pleasant encounters. With over a decade in the field and several books on high strangeness, Tobias brings sharp insight, grounded research, and some surprising theories about one of the most enduring mysteries of our time. And of course, I'm Bobby, host of the Caffeinated Cryptid Podcast Network, and this is episode 6 of 100 Days of Mothman. You can watch the full video on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and several other of your favorite audio apps, or catch the whole series anytime at Mothman100.com. And let's not forget to be kind and rewind. Please like, subscribe, and follow, and share. It helps me out more than you know. I was going to make a Robert Stack reference here, but let's just get to the episode. Here's Tobias Wayland on episode 6 of 100 Days of Mothman. One thing I did note, and you may be able to correct me on it because you're more read up on it, but there was no car chases in the Lake Michigan ones, unless there was ones I just didn't find.
One of the most recent, it's funny, I was just talking to somebody about this like earlier today. One of the more recent sightings actually involves a car chase. It's a truck technically, but it's got four wheels and an engine, so it counts. And it was a guy named Matt Sexton. I can say his name because he went on the record when I took his report and wrote an article about it and everything. And he was down near Caneville, Illinois. And I guess he had seen this winged thing, whatever it was, this winged humanoid, multiple times. And on the third occasion, he was in his truck every time. It's either his work truck, because he drives truck for a living, or his personal truck. And the third time, he was frightened enough where he went and he has a 9mm semi-automatic pistol that he keeps in his glove box, and he grabbed it. I want to say it was like a Taurus or something. And he grabbed it and took a shot at this thing. He doesn't think he hit it or whatever, but that's how scared he was he did fire at it. And I thought that was interesting because when I was talking to him about it, he didn't really embellish. He didn't make himself seem like a badass or a hero or anything. In fact, kind of sounded like I would expect somebody to after that, where in the moment he was scared. And so that's why he did it. It wasn't necessarily like the best idea. He wasn't proud of it. It wasn't some like chest thumping moment for him. Right.
It wasn't like spinning it like Doc Holliday.
No, not like, that's what I'm saying. Like when he tells this story, he doesn't make himself seem like some big hero. And that's what makes it so compelling, right? Is you would think if somebody was making that up, right? If they were just like spinning a tale just to hoax you or something, why add that detail and then not make yourself look cooler than he did, So, but there has been at least one car chase, which was relatively recent. There are other things involving cars, though. Like there was one in Waukegan where a guy this was back in the 70s, so not at all recent, where a guy had this thing swoop down on him when he was trying to jumpstart his buddy's car. And they took off, and supposedly the creature attacked the car a little bit and scratched it up. And the guy's daughter is actually the person that I spoke to. And she said that she'd even seen the scratches and everything, but it being back in the 70s, there weren't any photographs or whatever. So that was interesting. So there has been a couple, but nothing as well publicized as like the Scarberry mallet, sighting from back in 1966 in West Virginia.
What was the big one? It was a Scarberry mallet, and I had it written down to Tom Urey. He was the one that had it right above his head.
Sure.
I got in kind of an argument with someone on TikTok yesterday. The smart thing to do as a mature adult about
right.
how the original he went like on record saying the original was just a mistaken owl. I'm okay. But there was a car chase and it was above the car the whole time for 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
Yeah, thinking, but that's one determined hoot owl.
Right. Well, it's just if you believe the witness's testimony, or at least if you're like willing to entertain their testimony, then a lot of those prosaic explanations kind of fall apart. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, it's possible that some sightings it's possible that some of these, like the Midwestern Mothman sightings, have prosaic explanations. Some of them could be misidentifications, but all of them, every single one, not if these people's testimony is at all accurate.
And what about the guys who were? This is not from the Midwest. This is the Point Pleasant, but they were in the warehouse in the upper level, and they saw it on the catwalk. The Mothman walking. This is a Small Town Monsters throwback, but like they see it, and you can tell when you're in a room with a person-sized person, and it's not an owl. An eagle is not even that big compared to a person. I mean,
no,
but like I think if you walked up on an owl and in the woods and you didn't know it was there and you were 6 foot from it and it started, doing its thing, hashtag Flatwood Monster, but I think that could scare you, but you would, unless you didn't have a light, you would know it was an owl. I mean, everybody knows an owl. Look, everybody has seen Winnie the Pooh. I've been from me from this TV from an owl before in a tree stand. And I didn't think it was a Mothman. I was like, it's an owl because I started hooting at it.
Right. No, you're not wrong. And those kinds of misidentifications seem unlikely. They seem unlikely enough if you're just talking about one person. But to have multiple people misidentify the same thing in that way, in separate situations, I mean, that really stretches credibility, I think.
And what was her name? Connie Mallet. I may get the name wrong. The one that saw the outside the TNT factory in the Thomas's yard. I'm getting that name wrong.
Oh,
she was a Mallet, wasn't she?
No, was that Marcella Bennett?
Bennett, yeah. I had the last syllable right. I get the Billets, I get the Connies, the Bennetts, and the Mallets mixed up. But yeah,
it's easy to do.
Yeah, but like I said, this book is a cinematic universe, man. I didn't know what I was getting into. This is a thing.
It's wild. Yeah.
Ride down the wave with me, but yeah, like she was 6 foot from it, dropped her baby on top of it.
Right. Yeah, you don't drop your baby over an owl. That's
You might stagger with the baby or trip over something, but you don't just like, oh my God, primordial fear over an owl or a sandhill crane, for God's sake.
Right.
They're not.
We have sandhill cranes here. Now, I know they're not native to that area, so the rogue sandhill crane was supposed to explain why everybody was so surprised. But we have sandhill cranes here. And, I mean, first of all, sandhill cranes are not generally nocturnal. They are diurnal birds. Like, they hang out during the day. That's when you see them. And they aren't generally threatening. They just kind of walk around and look for bugs and crap. And that's about it. And they're also only, they're a few feet tall. So
and skinny.
And they're very skinny. Like, there's not a lot to them because they're a bird. They have to be able to fly, right? And so even with their wings completely like stretched out, it's just, you're not going to mistake it for a 6.5 foot tall monster. You're just not. I'm sorry. It's just it really stretches my belief past the limit to think that's what people were saying.
Yeah, I've been really close to egrets, blue herrings.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And just your garden variety crane, you call them. And you can't get 20 foot from them at the most before they go, wah, wah, and they fly off. I can't imagine a sandhill crane.
The ones around here, you can walk right up to. They don't care.
Yeah. Probably more when they're in more of like a park kind of setting or walking trail, but like just in the woods when you're hunting or something, you're not gonna get close to them.
No,
but like a lot of the sightings, like you said, were birds. They had to have been after. It's just like the drone thing earlier in the year. Like people were just seeing airplanes. It's a drone. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I can't think of what that's called, but like everybody just starts reporting everything.
But sure. Mass hysteria, maybe.
Yeah, one of the funniest ones is the 2018 GoPro pic with the guy that just up above the red light.
Yeah.
That was that had feathers. You saw the feathers even in the shaky GoPro.
Right. Now that was are you talking about the Pilsen sighting there?
I can't think of what it's called. It's the guy who was making a delivery. I think he was on a bicycle.
It was okay. So 2018, I investigated that personally. So 2018, there was a witness. He was bicycling to work, and he had a GoPro camera on his helmet, and he saw, as it's like middle of the afternoon too, when he's going to work. So bright daylight, and he sees this couple on the street corner, and they're like pointing at something in the sky. And so he looks up, and he sees what he would later describe to me. Like, I'm going to paraphrase, but this is pretty close to exactly what he said. Either a giant bat or a man in a wingsuit. And of course, he thinks that's pretty incredible. So he decides he's going to follow it around, and he gets all this footage and everything. And he sends me that footage, and he's always been cool about people using it. He sent it to me directly. He was okay with Expedition X using it when I went on there. He was okay with Unsolved Mysteries using it when I went on there. And so he's not hiding anything. And when I talked to him, it sounded to me like he was 100% authentic in terms of describing what he had seen, like at least his experience, right? Like that was his perception of it. So like, I don't think he was lying. He wasn't making anything up. But what's really interesting about that sighting is that, like, you're right. As soon as I was able, like with his help even, to go kind of frame by frame, find the object he was talking about and blow it up, there's no doubt it was a bird. It was absolutely, 100%. I would have guessed, based on its profile, maybe like a great blue heron. And the reason I say that is because they fly with their heads tucked back.
Yeah, they do the.
Yeah. So, and it had that kind of profile where, like, its head, you couldn't really see it. And so I'm imagining that its head was probably just tucked back. But yeah, it was a big old bird, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And what was great about that, though, was up until that time, right, I was seeing all of these sightings, and there was like two profiles. You had the one that were often during the day, and people just saw something they couldn't identify flying kind of far away, and there was no paranormal aspects being reported or anything like that, right? And then you'd have this other profile of absolutely just bonkers stuff, and those were usually at night, and people would talk about seeing this thing super close, and it had glowing red eyes, and all kinds of paranormal phenomena was happening alongside of it. And I couldn't reconcile those. I was like, well, this can't be the same thing. Well, I don't think it was. I think after that Pilsen sighting, with that evidence, finally I could something I could point to and go, look, not all of these, but some of these are for sure misidentified birds. Like, we have the evidence now. They fit the profile. So yeah, no, that was great. I love that. Like, to this day, that's one of my favorite reports. I think at the time too, when I was talking to that witness, and I was like, I had blown up the still image, and it was clearly a bird. And I sent him all these photographs of different birds and stuff that are just indigenous to that area, And I was like, well, did it, like, which one of these is the closest, or did it look like any of these? And he picked out the great blue heron, which was the other reason I thought it could have been that. And at that time, he was almost like apologetic somewhat, I think. Like, he maybe felt like he was wasting my time or something. And I was just like, dude, you have no idea how big of a favor you've done me.
Yeah.
Like, this is so important that you.
It's like a missing template you didn't know you needed. Yeah,
it was amazing. I was like, dude, this is so important. If anything, you're the one person I've spoken to recently who has not been wasting my time. Like, you've got something concrete that I can really use to help explain some of this. Like, this is really great. So yeah.
Carried around on the canvas. Like, you gotta look at this. I think the first time I saw that particular shot was the CW. There's a blast from the past. Mysteries Decoded, with the redheaded lady from Stranger Things. She does a kind of a Seth Breedlove kind of unsolved mysteries thing over there. Recommended. Very, very popular, very good show. Not very popular. Sam Tripoli was on it from the Tinfoil Hat podcast. I don't know if you know who that is. He's but yeah, like, I didn't know that they were portraying it as not real when they said it, and they put it up on the screen and said, okay, that's bullshit. That is a damn crane. and it says clearly a sandhill crane or a blue herring. I'm like, oh, thank God. I was about to turn this thing off if not one person thought that wasn't a bird.
Right.
Because I find that a lot in the Bigfoot community that I hang around with, that a lot of the people's accounts that they get are just from the fact they didn't grow up in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff I grew up, my house was in the woods and I experienced things just regularly, run of the mill, that other people report as Bigfoot evidence. No, man, that's not. Like, you feel bad for them because maybe if not knowing what it was, sure, a coyote cry or a bobcat cry or fox or two owls fighting. You ever heard two owls fighting?
I've never heard two owls fighting, but I imagine it sounds kind of weird.
Sounds like the end of days.
Okay.
If you're not ready for it, yeah, that's Bigfoot.
Sure.
No
I mean,
doubt.
I've heard foxes, coyotes,
Yeah.
all that. So we have all that here, like for sure. And it can be scary. Like a fox can sound like a woman screaming.
Mhm.
Like it's, same with like a mountain lion or something.
Mm-hmm. A peacock screams help.
Yeah.
Help.
Well, I used to live by a peacock farm, and they are ornery birds. People don't like expect that out of them, but they are
bigger than you think they are too.
Oh yeah,
that's didn't know I'd be scared of the peacock.
Right.
The other one, the reason I brought up the GoPro footage first is this one from I call it the June 3rd flying man.
Oh sure.
But like that is not a bird, is it? I mean,
well,
I've been trying to look at it a lot.
Yeah, there are competing hypotheses for that one, and it's difficult.
There's kind of the head there.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the head, or that could be tail feathers if you're looking at a bird carrying something in its beak. And what gets me about this is the way those wings are bent. If what is happening on the left side, if you're facing it towards the left, if that's its head, then the wings are bent at an unnatural angle that we never see wings bent at. And the wings only really make sense if the actual head of this creature is to the right and it's holding something in its mouth or beak. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm torn. It's another blurry photograph.
Yeah, it's a blob squatch. Yeah. Well, in my mind, he's going forward, like to the left, and just going down. That one is not like as obviously not as obvious a bird as.
Oh, it's definitely not as obvious. Yeah.
And I got to looking at other sightings, and is, in your opinion, and you've had more experience than I have, obviously, is the O'Hare Airport guy like is he like the Scarberry of the Midwest of the Lake Michigan? The fireman.
Well, I can say this for sure. Like the O'Hare International Airport sightings, unfortunately, are, in my opinion, the least credible sightings that have been received.
Least credible one.
Right. It pains me to say that, but the reality of the situation is, and I think Lon would tell you the same thing if you were here, because we've talked about it, is as hard as we've tried, despite all of the assurances we've received to the contrary, neither one of us has ever been able to corroborate any of these sighting details. Like, we've never even been able to prove that there's a real witness behind any of these. There's probably 2 sightings that I can think of that have come out of O'Hare that Lon and I were able to actually interview witnesses. And then outside of those 2, they all come into the same place. Nobody's ever been able to corroborate anything. The details don't match any of the other reports that we generally receive. So there's a lot of room for doubt. They're just bizarre.
Seemed like they were a lot at one time in that particular.
That's another thing. Yeah.
This Ashley Hilt told me kind of the same scenario one time when I talked to her about it.
Sure.
How she doesn't like the, I don't want to speak for her, but it's like she doesn't like the Lake Michigan, Chicago sightings as much as the OG ones. Said a lot of them were hoaxes.
Well, we've definitely talked about it at length too. And I think and again, I shouldn't speak for her, but whatever, she'll be fine. I would think that based on our conversations, she definitely feels that way about O'Hare. And
I think it was the main one.
I think that's probably mainly it. I mean, certainly the ones that I've presented, I think she would agree are the more credible ones. But when you get as many sightings as have been reported out of that area, yeah, I mean, a lot of them are going to be difficult to follow up on. Some of them easily could have just been made up, people trying to follow a trend. Because a lot of those, especially early on, they're literally just like one-off emails. And they end up getting published as though they're as credible as other sightings where we're able to sit down and actually interview people face to face. And obviously that's not true. Those sightings are not as credible. They should not be given the same weight as other sighting reports where we're able to follow up on a much deeper level. So there is a lot of that. I've done my best to try to differentiate between those kinds of sightings so people generally know which ones to consider more credible than others. But it's the internet age, so people see a cool story and they just spread it around like it's true, or they just don't care if it's true because they're entertained. It's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, it's not as you don't want to latch on to something too quick nowadays.
Oh yeah,
especially if it's a lot of stuff too quick.
Right.
Like I bring the drones back up. What was the first one you had in your book? Come on, it was about the kid that got swept away in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah, that was from Indiana. Oh,
yeah,
boy,
it's like your first story you told.
Yeah, back in the 60s. Was that Floyd Hancock, I think?
Yeah, here it is. Rolling Prairie, Indiana.
Yeah.
Floyd Hancock. And it was not a funny story, but I'm pretty morbid. And when it said landed with a thud, did it drop him? Is that what the general consensus? Like some David Pilates UFO kind of how they just drop them butt naked in the field with their pants on backwards.
Yeah. No, I mean that was the impression that I got from that story. Yeah. So that's another one. It's it doesn't fit the general profile, but at the time that I wrote that, it's not true anymore. But at the time that I wrote that was the oldest report we had received, and so I was like, well, why? Maybe I should just start the book out with that. Like I'll do sort of a prose sort of like narrative, creative nonfiction introduction with that sighting report in it. And yeah, it's wild though, because that report is like chronologically, it predates the Ohio River Valley sightings from the 60s. And the oldest one I have now, from a guy named Gerald that I talked to probably 4 or 5 years ago now, is from 1957. So these reports,
Indiana, Illinois area.
It's from his was from like Rolling Brook, Illinois, or something. It's some ways south of Chicago, and that was another relatively interesting one. It's not very sensational. He just had a quick sighting of like a weird flying humanoid, but just the fact that it reportedly took place in 1957 is super interesting. Now that Floyd Hancock one, it's got all kinds of weird details.
Yeah,
that one is fantastically entertaining.
I read it a lot. Like the last sentence. Soon enough, the frantic family heard scratching on the roof, followed by a solid thud. So yeah, I'm just picturing this poor little thump.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around why the winged humanoid thing just brought him back. It got away. It got away scot free. It had the kid. And then I don't know if it was just like, oh man, I don't really want this kid. That's a lot of responsibility. I'm just not ready to be a father yet. Yeah, right. And it's just so it comes back, scratches around on the roof, and it just drops him and takes off.
That was the one where he hypnotized the parents, put them in a sleep paralysis.
Yeah. Yep.
And the grandmother was able to come after him.
Yeah, she snapped out of it.
That's one of the things that common even in Illinois, Chicago, and Point Pleasant. Their point is to be seen, and they want to instill fear. I don't think he was going to take him. I think he wanted to do that to him.
Sure.
I mean, yeah. But that's all they want to do. They make it a point to be seen, and they want you to be traumatized the rest of your natural born days for some reason. I don't know why. It's there, and they like to chase cars sometimes.
I mean,
like a pit bull.
You're not wrong. It's real. Yeah, kind of like a pit bull. It's difficult to really reconcile any kind of like motivation.
It's so unreasonable.
Yeah.
That's what racks your brain. And I think it's the reason that I didn't feel this way in the last 6 episodes I shot. They were all about West Virginia, and you've heard this 1,000 times, but the difference between Point Pleasant and your area of expertise, Lake Michigan, is there's a neat little bow at the end of it. Roll credits. Yeah. Down goes the bridge. Even though I know the sightings kept going in West Virginia. I mean, Seth Breedlove, Mothman Legacy is the documentary we didn't know we needed.
Oh yeah.
But you get a little cinematic universe. This is George Lucas, John Keel, even though he kind of looks like that one of those old actors that I can't think of the name of right now. But I did some research on 2017 Chicago tragedies because I don't have a job, which I do, which I shouldn't even be announcing this. But I looked at it at work while I was eating my lunch. I had little notes, and I found some juicy nuggets because I wanted to see like just what maybe the harbinger could be, maybe something, but. I said not sure if there's any worth being visited by Indrid Cole over, but here's a short list.
Okay.
That's what I wrote myself. 660 murders that year, big ticket item. I don't know if that's bad for Chicago or par for the course.
That's like a normal year for Chicago.
Yeah, I'm feeling like that might be. To me, it's like, oh my gosh, Chicago. It's like, man, off day.
Right.
They had historic flooding, July 11th, 2017. Okay. 244 homes damaged, a school, and the water was 6 feet.
That's pretty good.
That one stuck out. And there was a bloody 4th of July, 102 people shot. Again, I don't know if that's just a normal Tuesday. But there was you did have a couple of accounts from the 90s. And I can't remember. I didn't write those down, but I do remember them. In 96, they had Hurricane Harvey come through. And it flooded the town. It came up from Houston. I could be getting that completely wrong, but I think that's what it did.
Could have been. I mean, I live in the area.
A long time ago.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. We get those a lot here in North Alabama where the hurricane comes up and just has a little bit more juice and floods us real quick.
Right.
That's what happened in North Carolina. And I got to think when I was doing this, I wonder if there's any Mothman sightings in the Appalachians.
Probably.
Before that flood came.
I've received reports from all over the world at this point, right?
That was one of my questions. I'm like, how far down the worldly rabbit hole have you gone, and how far down the historical rabbit hole have you gone? Because it seems to be everywhere. No matter where you look, there's something. They call them like Batman or Bird Queen, some kind of different thing. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there are different cultural representations of winged humanoids for sure. After that episode of Unsolved Mysteries aired, I got a lot of reports from like Mexico and then further south into Central and South America. And those were interesting. I think those are probably the farthest afield that I've received reports. Although, I've heard of stuff from like Puerto Rico, all over North America. So, I mean, I already mentioned Mexico, but then obviously like the continental US all the way up into Canada. Received sightings from like Ontario. As far as the U.S. is concerned, coast to coast, absolutely. From California to, Maryland, we've received sightings, or I have personally received sightings. I know other people have too. So they're all over the place. As far as like historical sightings, like the oldest one I've received directly was 1957. But if you look at, different representations of winged humanoids, I mean, they go back thousands of years. Like you could go back to ancient Greece or Babylonia and see representations of winged humanoids. So that's as old as human history.
Right? They're almost in the context of every culture that you can explore is always something.
Yes.
And you mentioned Mexico. I know your book even said the word lechuza, the giant bird.
Oh yeah.
And
the witch who can turn into an eagle or an owl or whatever.
I have a regular guest. His name's Robert Beto. He runs a whole channel and store about Mexico cryptids, and he sells the little Mexican trinkets, the miracles. His whole life is just Mexican cryptids and miracles. And one of his favorites is lechuza. He has like the little statue of it and everything. They got and lechuza is the owl. What's the owl? Is that the lechuza? The giant owl?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that it's supposed to be a witch that can turn into usually an owl or sometimes an eagle, but some kind of predatory bird.
Either way, it's their version of Mothman. It's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Then they got La Llorona, and it's not the same thing. He said he
No.
saw La Llorona one time.
Really?
He said, funny anecdote. He sells little trinkets, making trinkets representing the different things, and one of them happens to be a La Llorona doll or statue, and he's terrified of La Llorona because he thinks he saw it when he was little. So anything La Llorona, just like, so he's for some reason watching the horror movie called La Llorona about
and she is scary. I mean, I get
the weeping ditch witch.
Yeah, she like killed a bunch of kids,
drowned her kids, and keeps drowning more. So he's watching this movie, and behind the monster is his products that he didn't know that his distributor sold to the filming company. So he thinks he's in this loop from hell.
Right, he's next.
He said he stopped the movie and called his distributor. It's like, yeah, I thought you'd think it was cool. He goes, no, I just scared the shit out of me. I saw the stuff I have in my house in the movie that I made.
Hilarious.
That was like watching that movie Bandersnatch, the Choose Your Own Adventure Netflix movie. That scared me about as bad.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It out. But yeah, it's that was a good one. I thought like I was entering the Matrix when I watched it, but I digress. And I'm going to go a couple other questions here. Were there in the Midwest, like Michigan, Chicago, were there any Men in Black, Indrid Cold type scenarios that happened, like behind the scenes?
Not that I'm aware of. There were never any credible reports of Men in Black. But honestly, like we should unpack that a little bit anyway. Yeah. Because if you go back to like say the Mothman Prophecies book, like those Men in Black or supposed like Men in Black sightings, they're not even really what generally people would conceive of as Men in Black sightings. Some of them, like if I could be perfectly frank, some of them could be just explained away as like misidentifications and it's just like a touch of mid-century America racism.
Yes, I thought you were going to say it.
Yeah. So like they're not as weird as people think. And beyond that, like Keel, as entertaining of a writer as he was, and he was a great writer, a lot of fun to read. He definitely had this kind of Fortean approach that I think a lot of people don't know how to handle, because he would just take everything in a region and just throw it all together and be like, well, this is all the stuff everybody reported in all 3 states around where Mothman was supposedly happening. So maybe it's connected. Who knows? And people take that so much more seriously than they should, because there's no causal connection between the Indrid Cold sighting, like what Woodrow Derenberger reported, and what anybody was reporting around Mothman. Like none, zero, like nothing. Like what's the actual connection? I think it's just material in a book written by a guy who really liked Charles Fort, and so he would take everything that he heard about and just throw it together. So to answer your question, no, there hasn't been any of that stuff. But if there's a follow-up question, does it matter? I think the answer is also no. No. Because that never really had anything to do with the original Mothman sightings anyway.
Yeah. The book was only about 5% Mothman.
Yeah, right. If you took everything non-Mothman related out, you'd be left with like a pamphlet, maybe a flyer. Yeah.
I thought it was funny. My friend who's a biologist read the book as well. He goes, I think this guy just doesn't like Asians.
Right?
Every one of them was high cheekbone with Asian eyes.
Seriously.
And they smile a lot. Like I'm glad you said that. It almost felt like World War II propaganda. It had the same feel. You know how the Japanese World War II depiction was always really big smiles and kind of dumb with big glasses.
Characters. Oh yeah.
Or that guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He wasn't Japanese, but he was creepy with his glasses on, thick glasses.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going to make a T-shirt for this series. I'm still going to do it. Called Jack Brown is my homeboy, and have those little fingers going up through the letters.
Nice.
And maybe have like a Cheshire Cat kind of thing going on behind it.
Sure.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah. That's just it's one of the things that intrigued me, because the book was, mostly, like I said, it wasn't a lot of Mothman talk in it. It was all Men in Black with a little Mothman.
Right.
And Like every once in a while, you go, oh, and they saw a Mothman by the TNT factory, and he shined a light at it. He did have the incident where he was in that little stage of fear on the road. He'd walk into it and walk out of it.
That was interesting.
Yeah, that had that Bigfoot feel to it.
Sure.
That had that
the infrasound.
Yeah, infrasound feel to it, which I think that seeing your research, I think you kind of know what I'm talking about, how they're all kind of related anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I think, the phenomenon is all encompassing. It's everything. It's one begats the other. It's a big recycling loop.
There are commonalities.
Yeah. Even John Keel mentions Bigfoot in the book, not by name.
Yeah. Well, I think he mentions a lot of
hairy ape.
But yeah.
Hairy ape with red eyes a couple times.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm making a documentary right now, very small, very junior college documentary 101 looking, but fun. If there's a cryptid case from the 70s across the Tennessee line, some of the witnesses are still alive. It was famous.
Nice.
And two of the witnesses I had, one was a former game and fish officer. Started mentioning the 73 flap, UFO flap. And it was one of the triangles was down here.
Hmm.
And both of them mentioned how they think Bigfoot had something to do with that. And fun to think about. Food for thought, as they say.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm definitely into it. Like there is a correlation for sure between areas that are heavily reputed to have Bigfoot and other cryptid sightings and areas that have UFO sightings reported. So yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah. Not Flatwoods, but Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite cases from way back, especially because like there's just this element of elitism and classism that went into how that case is talked about today that just rubs me the wrong way, as though like the entire like Sutton clan were just a bunch of hillbillies who just wouldn't have known what was in their own environment, right? Mm-hmm. Just bugs the crap out of me. And the fact is that case at the time was actually pretty well investigated. And it's an interesting case. It's not easily explainable. Just because people happen to live in a rural area doesn't make them stupid. And it sure as hell doesn't mean they don't understand what's in their environment. Mm-hmm. They definitely do better than like a bunch of city slickers who have never been in anything wilder than like a local park, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, the Hopkinsville, like Kelly goblins that's a fascinating case. I love it.
Especially when it comes to wildlife in the area. That's like the one person you go to. Mm-hmm. It's the people that live out in the woods. Like,
I mean, obviously, yeah.
I know things about snakes that people like, how do you know that? I'm like, dude, I had to grow up in. I knew which snakes were snakes.
Right.
That one funny story was the Tennessee Aquarium. Nice aquarium. It's one of the better I've ever been to in Chattanooga. It has the little freshwater exhibit where the turtles and it's like you're in the river. The rest of it's kind of the Gulf of Mexico. And they're turtles, the little mud turtles, the yellow ones, the yellow sliders, the garden varieties. Yeah. And this lady's going on and on about how they're endangered and we got to protect these turtles. And this guy walks up to me and taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "She ain't never been to my pond. Them things are everywhere. We shoot them all the time." I said, he goes, "They're pretty good eating too." I said, "Don't tell her that." Her face looked like she'd seen a ghost.
Yeah. She is going to take that the wrong way.
These are yellow belly sliders and very, very endangered. Like not every reptile you don't see on day to day is endangered.
Right.
Not every one of them.
Obviously. Yeah. I don't know. That's some people.
Yeah. I'm all for protecting the environment, but let's be reasonable about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm still going to, I still enjoy hamburger. I get it.
Yeah. That's not going to stop. I hate to tell you.
Unlikely. Yeah.
Unless they make a really big cricket and grind that up first.
Oh boy, yeah, maybe. Let's hope we don't get there.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll end it all. I'll opt out. Walking Dead style. What was one of the things? One of the big things in that particular vein, which is totally off topic, and we're winding down anyway. But the armadillos that started showing up here.
Okay.
In 2010. They weren't here before. I mean, they showed up quick. I don't know how that works. They never were past the Florida line growing up. The moment I turn about 30, here they are, billions of them. That's the weirdest migration I've ever seen. Now there's some alligators like that too, but I think it's because we quit kind of controlling alligators. I don't think that had a lot to do with migrations.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard that like armadillos were on the move. I've only ever seen them in Texas. I don't know.
They are in Alabama and they're everywhere.
Huh.
And they will scare you to death in a yard in the morning because you don't know they're there.
Right. Well, they got those sharp claws and stuff too. Like you don't want to mess with them.
Blind as a bat.
Yeah.
And so when you sneak up on them, they can't hear you or see you. So when they finally notice you, they go nuts. They ball up and jump.
Yeah.
They're a cryptid in and of themselves.
Yeah, fair enough. Wow. All right. Well, good luck with your armadillos. I don't know.
Hey, if there's any, like, I don't get on board with the whole extreme climate change thing.
Yeah.
And I know like stuff happens. I know we're men and we're crazy and we destroy the place. But if you presented that of the armadillo easel next to it, I'd be like, okay, you got something. Because those weren't there 20 years ago, and now they're every freaking where. They're outnumbering possums.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Somebody put one in my bathroom on the bomb range I worked on for the Army. I was like, you ain't ready for how big they are.
Right.
But going away, are there any native stories, i.e. cornstalk in the Lake Michigan, Chicago? I know Chicago was big on the Native American.
Well, I mean, every place in the Midwest is
Mothman related native stories, I should say, not just native. Not what you going.
I was going to say. I mean, the whole country was like belonged to indigenous people at one point.
You ever heard of the Blackhawks? You racist.
No, I haven't seen any connection, but there could be a couple of reasons for that. A lot of the stories haven't been recorded. If they do exist, like that's one possibility. They're not sort of actively being told. I mean, there are a number of obvious issues that exist when it comes to engaging with indigenous cultures because of the quite frankly, like the crimes and horrible tragedies that have been inflicted on the various tribes. So who knows? I haven't heard of anything modern. I would love to, of course, but nothing's really presented itself. Although again, in the same vein as Men in Black, if somebody were to ask me, does that matter in terms of not having a chief cornstalk curse? No, of course not, because the chief cornstalk curse is just another weird, stupid, racist thing that exists, and it doesn't really have anything to do with anything. It's just a curse that people in like that area of West Virginia blame every stupid bad thing that ever happens to them on, because that's just a part of their culture, and it's fine. I'm not making fun of them necessarily for that, but like. It's true, like, oh, I got a flat tire. Oh, stupid cornstalk. So no, it has nothing to do with Mothman. Of course not.
So I'm saying that's part of that. Now, the Point Pleasant verse is just so expansive. Like it has everything. It's almost like somebody wrote it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I've often said, I was kind of irritated after I went back and, retraced the Mothman thing. Because I went through a phase in 2002, 2003 when it came out. Kind of light before Google was really big. So it's kind of light research. And I didn't realize then that the Men in Black from, Will Smith was the same Men in Black. It was based off John Keel's stuff somewhat. I'm like, man, if they would have had the equivalent, like even a little bit in that movie, Mothman Prophecies, that would have been almost a better movie. Instead, they just had they made John, what's his name? I can't think of his name, into John Keel, and he wasn't the same reporter coming for that. He just ended up there. Right.
I think Richard Gere's character in that movie was John Klein.
Yeah, it was close. It was like an anagram.
Yeah. So,
and I bought it on DVD and watched it 3 times in the last month, so I should have known. I'm gonna put a lot of little fun fact clips with this series during the week. Nice. Little 30-second clips. One of them is going to be like all the character comparisons. Miss Hire and Connie from the movie. It's obviously the same person, even though Miss Hire didn't go down in the bridge but she did have the vision. She had the
she did, and
the
that's another
vision.
interesting part of the Mothman prophecies.
Mary Hire.
Yeah, right. Is Mary Hire having that? It was a prophetic dream. And people don't talk about it a lot. And I don't really understand why, because it's arguably the most interesting part of the book. At least to me, because look, I don't know that Mothman had anything to do with the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Doesn't seem likely that it did. But that doesn't mean that Mary Hire didn't really have a prophetic dream, some kind of like precognitive experience, because that stuff reportedly happens way more often than anybody thinks, and so like she could have had her own parapsychological phenomenon that happened to her totally separate from everything else going on. And that in and of itself is super interesting, but nobody ever talks about it. I don't get it. I think it's super, super interesting.
Yeah. That last chapter is about the best one in the book, to be honest.
Yeah.
When it starts getting into the, LBJ is going to throw the switch on the national Christmas tree, and he thinks there's about to be an EMP attack. And as soon as it happens, the Silver Bridge goes down.
Yeah.
And in the book, it's the local Point Pleasant Christmas tree that happens when that happens.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's all kinds of comparisons. That
it is. He really just threw everything at the wall. And if some of it stuck, I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it isn't. But like when you compare it to the amount of stuff that didn't, it becomes a lot less compelling, and it seems a lot more like random luck, So.
One thing I would say was like, if I don't know why that place wasn't surrounded by military because of some of the stuff he was saying, because that basically was like the end of ET. Is like it should have been covered up with the military like that, tents, tanks, surrounded the town with concertina wire. Like this place is obviously a hotbed for a portal. What was it? Just one dude from Maryland driving over here every 3 weeks,
right? Well, and the thing is, like
New York,
if there had been a more compelling phenomenon present, like maybe it would have been, but in the eyes of the authorities, and frankly, a lot of people who lived through it, because at this point, like I've talked to some of them, it was seen as a lot of mass hysteria, a lot of people just going bananas because that's just a fun thing people do. When somebody starts reporting a monster, we just all lose our minds, grab our guns, and jump in our trucks and head out to the TNT area.
Sounds like you've seen my documentary. That's basically a part of it.
Well, there you go. But no, I mean, I think that's why is because there wasn't an obvious monster flying around. All there really was an obvious bunch of people like seemingly overreacting to something. So, they're not going to take much interest in that other than trying to protect public safety.
Him seeing those lights on the hills every night almost lost credibility with me a little bit. I'm like, you can't just say every night. Right. Like that's just like a movie. That's like Close Encounters.
Well, every night would be like, in like a regularly used airplane flight path or something,
And just like you were saying that you check the weather patterns for a sighting. If it was overcast and coming a storm, like, okay, that's obviously fake. You didn't think I could check that?
Right. You can find anything on the internet. Yeah. We got all of human history recorded at this point, at least enough of it for me to check, like to fact check anything from the past.
Actually, weather.
Yeah.
Weather's dialed down to the second.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like historical weather data is very easy to find. The only difficulty I've really encountered is it's only recorded at like certain recording stations. So for instance, I had a relatively recently reported UFO sighting, and the sighting itself took place, I think back in like the 70s or something. And it was in, I want to say Hartford, Wisconsin, which is like 30 or 40 miles away from General Mitchell Airport, which is in Milwaukee. Now, General Mitchell Airport is the nearest like weather recording station, but it's still 30 or 40 miles away. So there can be completely different weather happening at those two locations simultaneously, because that's a pretty big difference. And in this particular report, the lady was talking about how it snowed all night. And then if you go and check the weather at General Mitchell at that time, it says that there was no snow there. But just because there wasn't snow there doesn't mean that there wasn't any at Hartford, because again, it's like 36 miles away. Mm-hmm. So you could absolutely have a snowstorm happening in Hartford that isn't hitting General Mitchell. So
especially if it's like a up and down, north and south.
Yeah, well, yeah, it literally is. So like it's more or less, it's like northwest of Milwaukee. So yeah, I mean, you could easily have like a whole separate like weather pattern going through there. So I mean, that's just one thing you have to watch out for.
Yeah, like the Smoky Mountains will get covered in snow and we'll get pouring down rain, and it's the same storm.
Right.
Yeah, but then and they're not they're just 3 hours away, but still, I mean, that's just a crow flies. It's a long way, not a long way.
Well, just we're maybe 25 miles south of Madison, and Madison will get like 3-4 inches of snow, and we'll get none. Mm-hmm. You know, so like, yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. I've seen it.
Snow usually comes in a band, like down.
Yeah,
it goes up. Because I've seen snow 3 times total in my life. I know how
so you're basically an expert.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a big deal.
Right.
I know when it's coming that we're not leaving the house for a few days, so I like that.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been a great conversation, just like I knew it would be. I feel like I'll read these books. I didn't finish it all the way, but I got busy this week thinking I could pound 180 pages, and I usually can, but I don't know what happened. But you got documentaries all over the place, videos, not hard to find. Like I feel like I know that, like I do this to everybody. I feel like I know them.
I get it. I do. I get it.
You know, Google Maps your house. There he is. There's his dog. Not really. I don't do that much. I don't care that much about it.
Yeah, that's fair.